All right, everyone. We start off today talking about YouTube's terms of service. They just made a change. They announced it the other day in a blog post. They're no longer going to be policing misinfo related to the 2020 election, so claims that there were glitches or hacks or whatever going on. The scope of that is it appears to be basically you can say whatever you want about it. So it's like every other election that's ever been held. I noticed that nobody was ever banned for questioning the fortitude and integrity of the 2016 election or the 2000 election, although, well, there were shenanigans in the year 2000. We all saw it. You don't have to be a Democrat to understand that that one was messy. A few hundred votes in one notoriously corrupt state. What could go wrong? Anyway, I smell a rat. I look at this and I say, well, I agree with the decision. Never should have been a policy in the first place. It was pig in a pokery. People get convinced that there's some attack on democracy, and the authoritarians swoop in and say, wow, this is going to be great. Let's ban thousands and thousands of independent content creators who have done absolutely nothing wrong. That's basically what happened. I would note that there are some other disinfo policies on YouTube that act similarly. Differential enforcement means that Cenk Uygur doesn't get banned for what you get banned for. It means that Jimmy Fallon doesn't get banned for what I would get banned for, etc., etc. And that's the whole point. The point of this policy was mainly to knock out a bunch of content creators, not to protect democracy or any stupid shit like that. That's just how they sold it to the public. I see something worrisome here. First, I asked myself, given the trajectory of older tech sites like YouTube, towards more and more censorship, why would they throttle back specifically this one aspect of censorship that for well into 2 years they claimed was absolutely necessary? They claimed that if we don't have this policy, basically democracy will fail. Why then would you get rid of the policy? First answer is easy. That is that other than core believers in honk honk, the shenanigans of 2020, most other people have gotten past it. This involves, by the way, the majority of Trump fans. Some of them are getting rankled because he always trots out the election thing, as opposed to focusing on more pragmatic policies. Of course, bitching about shenanigans in 2020, even if that happens to be true, or even if that happens to be plausible, or if you find it important, doesn't solve the economic problems that we're having. It doesn't solve for the border. It doesn't solve anything pragmatic. You can shout about it till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, the states largely have to be the ones looking into the election system at all in order to fix any problem that's there. To have someone therefore running for the presidency and often fixating on that when really it's not so much in his purview at all is disappointing to some people. Now, I don't mind if he talks about it, Trump, or others. And it makes sense to do so because people do need to be reminded, hey, what about that Maricopa County? That's fine. But you can't do it to the exclusion of delving deeper into other topics. Trump has knocked it out of the park every time that he releases a campaign video where he talks about like internet censorship, which was his very first one. And sometimes, though, he gets bogged down on that subject, and it's like, okay, well, you're not going to solve anything by complaining about the past. You're going to solve things by talking about the future. It's also how you pitch yourself to the voters. The second reason, so the first reason actually is because I think YouTube realizes at this point most people aren't talking about it anyway. Secondly, though, I think that they don't like that. Here's what I think. I think YouTube wants an explosion of content related to this on the platform so that it can be fact-checked, so-called, by all of the liberals out there, number one, and distract Trump voters, number two. Get them distracted from meaningful platform issues and hopefully rope-a-dope Trump into doing the same thing. I think that they like that idea because do you think that YouTube for a fucking minute wants populism in the United States? Do you think that they would like it if Trump were reelected? They had a nervous breakdown, you'll remember, after the 2016 election. Most of the people that were in that room with their CEO there that day are still there. Have they suddenly changed their minds and said, well, we don't want to interfere in people's perception of the 2024 election by maintaining a lopsided policy about a previous election. It'll make us look bad and it'll change people's minds. And we don't want to do that. We don't distort algorithms or anything like that. So we're reversing the policy because we're trying not to be evil. Do you really think that's the reason? Or do you think that they got the go-ahead on this policy in order to look more even-handed, fooling people while distorting algorithms, which they do. I'm buried behind 3 iterations of algorithmic demotion at this point, so yeah, not going to get that gold play button. I'm just going to come right out and say it. Not going to happen. They do that. They're trying to distract people. And also it's meaningless because you banned a shit ton of people, and I'm probably those people that were banned for Misinfo that you in part labeled state disinformation. I have a feeling they're not getting their accounts back. I have a feeling that ship has sailed a long time ago. Maybe the one thing that compelled them to do this that isn't shenanigans is, hey, we're losing an awful lot of streamers to Rumble. We're losing an awful lot of streamers to competitor sites, and that brings home the gravy. Maybe we should address this. And then they asked their investors, and they got together, and they brainstormed and said, well, in the long run, this could actually be a good thing. Because now all those idiot MAGA fans will get bogged down talking about 2020 to the exclusion of talking about 2024. So despite the fact that this policy has been reversed, and therefore you can talk about the shenanigans of 2020 now, apparently, I'm not going to fixate on it. I'm going to fixate on what's actually happening now, because unless Trump is reelected and we stop the uniparty of stooges from fucking around with the Senate and House races like they did in 2022, can I challenge that election's veracity? I don't know. It's only I don't know about election misinformation policy at large. We'll have to dig deeper into the Post and into the TOS once it's updated fully. Unless that happens, you're not going to reform anything in the electoral sense. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, that's my analysis of this. It's good that the policy's gone. It never should have existed in the first place. It's a black blot on YouTube's totally stellar record on not being censorious and distorting people's view of the world. But I'm being sarcastic, of course, at least since 2014 or thereabouts. That's fine, but I have a feeling that there's an ulterior motive here. I'm just putting out a couple of ideas about what that motive may be before people start launching off and putting 100 videos up, deeply analyzing every aspect of what happened in Arizona or in Michigan in 2020. Keep in mind that may be on purpose. YouTube trying to, have more info there for the fact checkers to say, look, there's been a massive rise in more disinfo. They're doing it again. The Russians are coming, and we need to do something about these content creators. They're so evil with their MAGA hats, worshipping Orange Man. They're basically like Pootler stooges. That's about all. Peace out.